Shalom, giving all praise to YAHAWASHI, QADASH, SHAM, and Shalom to the hopefully elect out there. Giving all praise to YAHAWASHI, QADASH, and Shalom to the hopefully elect out there. I'm going to entitle this video Joshua 8:35. Biblical etymology, understanding the word strangers. Okay, so you'll find out what I'm talking about in a minute. But this is a video that was put up by the elder of Baltimore, Karatazabah. And this is based upon a video of Black Christians going, face to face with the IUIC in Detroit. And these Christians came out led by an individual by the name of Elder Mike, which he's an apologist. He's been on Vocab Malone's show on his page more than once, at least 2 times, if not more. So after this encounter with the IUIC Detroit, they, went on, they got together with the Vocab and they discussed it. They were showing certain scenes from the encounter. They were talking, putting their comment in on it. And kind of they would laugh and you see they're going off on this and they're doing this wrong. And basically it was a like a retaliation to the IUIC going to these various different churches, standing out in front of the churches and, cursing them out. Now, technically, they were not on the property of the church. They would be across the street, but it was still a disturbance to the church. And not one so-called Black Christian came out of that and joined with the IUIC, not one. They were out there for months, and I don't know how many churches and it was mostly a lot of these bigger churches. And there was maybe 2 or 3 churches, or at least 1 or 2 that invited them to speak, and they would, the next month or the next week or whatever, 2 weeks, they would sit down, they would go to the church and they would speak. And, the pastor and deacons and whatever, of the church, they would sit down with him and ask him certain questions, but none of them said, you know what, I'm no longer a so-called Christian, I'm now a Hebrew Israelite. So that was like a failure, but there's nothing wrong with that because you're going to Israel. But the thing is, the scriptures tell you, and I said this in previous videos, that the Lord said, if they don't accept your peace, then take your peace back and shake the dust off thy feet. And the reason why he says shake the dust off thy feet is because they didn't have paved roads everywhere. They had the Appian Way back in Rome during the Roman Empire, but the roads that you walked on were dusty roads, uneven roads. So as you see now, you see paved roads. I was watching a video, what's the individual's name? I believe his name is Nick Johnson, and he goes around the country doing videos. And one of the videos, I was watching last night, one of the videos he did, I think if I'm not mistaken, is Jackson, Mississippi. He said the worst city in the country. That was the title, something to that effect. Then he said Jackson, Mississippi will wind up on 2 lists. There will be the first of the worst on one list, or the last of another list of the best. The way he put it together, the first name on the list for the worst, and the last name on the list for the best. Now they were showing him, he was driving around in different towns, and there was actually no paved roads. It was like it was dirt roads, and the roads had craters in it, and you had to kind of navigate, from the little molehills and the little the little cavities in the road. And they were showing the houses, and most of the houses were like people hadn't lived in those particular houses in years, and you could see the house just falling apart from the rain and so forth. And then the houses that were lived in looked like looked like hell, man. And the people of that community were mostly Jake, and some maybe poor Edomites, but mostly Jake. And that shows you that we're still under these curses to this day. But anyway, I said all that because I was the reference to shake the dust off your feet. Like I said, back in the ancient world, back in Jerusalem, they walked on dusty roads. So you always had dust when you would go into a house, and this is where the welcome mat is all about, because you shook. They don't do that now, but you shook the dust off the mat. You kind of kick your feet off before you came into the house, or you shook your garment before you came into the house to get the dust, so you don't bring the dust in the house. So now you get an idea of how it was back there. You didn't have Route 66 and I-95 and I-78 and Route 1, and you didn't have that, man. But anyway, so this is as you see on the screen, it said the Christian Blitz comedy hype Joshua 8. And this is, as you can see, 2 minutes and 43 seconds in of a 16-minute, 3-second video. Now, on the other side of the street is the actual school, the IUIC Detroit. So pretty much they were going back and forth, cursing each other out. If I bring it back, you'll see it. Matter of fact, okay, so this is 243, 241. Let's bring it back. Number pandemonium. Now let me go back here. I'll let you listen to it. But then when they close up, the black Christians, one of the first scriptures that Elder Mike brings out, and he brings it out with no understanding. And he said the same day, he said to one of them brothers, he said the Bible wasn't written originally in English, young man, something to that effect. It was written in Greek and Hebrew. So, Elder Mike, he brings out Joshua 8 verse 32. Is it Joshua 8 verse 32? I know it's Joshua 8. Joshua 8 verse 35. Excuse me. And then and I'll read it, and then I'll go into the etymology. So he said, in order for you to truly understand the scriptures, which he was correct on, you have some words you have to go to the root word. If it's in the New Testament, you got to go into the Greek. If it's in the Old Testament, you got to go into the Hebrew. In certain books like Daniel, you got to go into the Syriac or Aramaic. Like when we get these Torahs, the Tanakhs, and they're written in that language, we learn that that's not Hebrew writing. That's really Syriac. That's what the Assyrians read. It's also called Assyrian, or it's also called Aramaic, which is similar. You can say another dialogue of Hebrew, but the writing is different. So let me just let this play a little bit, and then I'll get ready to go to the etymology of the word, so you can get the true understanding. Sometimes when you read the scriptures, sometimes you have to go to get a better understanding. Sometimes you have to say, well, what is it? If it's in the New Testament, what does the Greek word say? If it's the Old Testament, what does the Hebrew say? So watch and listen. Scripture said the Lord is not the author of confusion. So this is nothing but confusion. What is anyone learning from this? It's a shouting contest. You see? Now, what the IUIC could have did was just went into the school, and if they heard a lot of commotion, they could have called the cops and said we're being disturbed or whatever the case may be. So this made no sense at all, but it did stem from them going to particular churches and not respecting, their peace. Even though they were technically not on their grounds, you can still hear them while the service is going on. Another example, when they went to Geno Jennings' church, it was, 1,000 or 2,000 of them, and they marched around the church and they cursing out Geno Jennings, trying to get him to come out, which is clearly, the scriptures say, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. That we are sheep in the midst of wolves. And they already know if they went back and forth with Geno Jennings concerning having a meeting and a debate, and Geno Jennings representatives or Geno Jennings said yes, you already know in the back of your mind they're gonna pull that fast one. So now we went around the church and we showed them, which was a waste of time and money. And you had all kind of men come around from different parts of the country, I suppose. Well, I know that for a fact. I don't know if you picked up the tab for them or made them pay it. I don't know what the situation is, but that's wasted money. So let's listen and watch. While the IUIC brother is reading, you got the elder Mike speaking. So nobody's learning anything. It's just nothing but a ball of confusion. So let me go right to the point where where was I? Let me come right here. When they disperse. Right about here, 2 minutes and 14 seconds in. So as you can see, they're on the opposite side of the street, cursing them out. So it's a ball of confusion. All right. You got this clown, lost soul. Let me do this. You can get you can't see the sign. And you got a woman in there. She's out of order. Okay, here it is. Let me bring it back. Now, mind you, this is Elder Mike. He said the Bible was not originally written in the English, young man. And I believe he further said the Bible is written in Greek in the New Testament and Hebrew in the Old Testament. I believe he said that. But he said the Bible is not written in English. So what was he conveying? Was the message that he was conveying was some certain passages you come across, you have to take out certain words and go to the root word. So he brings out this scripture here, Joshua 8:35, and doesn't understand the root word. I'm gonna show you that he doesn't understand what he read. He should have went to the root of the word. The version that he read out of was foreigner. The King James, it says stranger. So listen closely.
They show up at churches, they say they want to talk. They said, Joshua read all the words of the law.
So he's reading from Joshua 8, verse 35.
The blessings and the curses, just as it was written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of it.
Right, to the whole assembly of Israel, it's going to say. So, in other words, Joshua read the law to him again in the wilderness. Moses was in the spiritual realm.
Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners. See, they say foreigners can't be saved, but they don't know the Bible.
So you heard what he said in his massive confusion. He said now he read, and the foreigners, and it says in King James, strangers. He said these guys said the foreigners can't be saved. Well, those foreigners represent the Israelites. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. That's talking about the mixed multitude. You can say that, but when you go into the actual word and you go into the precepts for that word, you're going to find out that those strangers or those foreigners represent Israelites coming out of other lands. But you might say, well, wait a minute. All the Israelites went into the wilderness. Where did the other Israelites come from? So you have a point there. So your scholars would most likely say those were the mixed multitudes. Now, when you read about the mixed multitudes, they were the ones that stirred up the spirit of the Israelites to go back into Egypt. That's why they wanted to go back into Egypt. Let me get you that. Let me see. Let me pull up another tab here. Let me do this. That's why the scriptures say study. The scriptures say precept upon precept. Okay, I know it's in Numbers. I believe it's Numbers 11, but let me do this. Okay, let me put in leaks. Hope I spelled this right. Okay, let's see what comes up. Okay, let me do it this way. Let me put in garlic. Okay, let me try it this way. I guess it's spelled with a K instead of a C. Okay, I was right. It was Numbers 11 and 5. So now let me do this. Yeah, in the King James, it's spelled GARLIK, I believe. That's why it didn't come up. See, that's why a lot of people will ask us, can you break this down to me? Could you give me an understanding on that? Can you give me an understanding on this? Can you break this down? Because they don't want to go and study. They don't want to search the scriptures or study. They don't want to have to go to a root word and then go to the map. They put it on us. They put it on us. Okay, so we had Numbers 11, verse 5. And like I would have told Bishop Nate, I said, that's a complete waste of time and money and effort going to these churches because none of these churches are going to get it because they don't go deep. They don't study. Especially black churches. Black churches, they dance, they sing, they act the fool, they quote scriptures. I'm going to read that too. That's in Romans chapter 10 and also in Isaiah. That was a quote that from Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah 29. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to that in a minute. But let me read this here. It says, Numbers 11, verse 5. We remember the fishes, which I got to start up. Let me start up here. By the way, when the Lord, um, saved the Israelites and the what do you call it? The mixed multitude came with him. They murmured when they were in the wilderness. They murmured at Moses, then they murmured at Joshua. So the Most High was killing Israelites. That ship that came, a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. That was an actual ship that was shooting lasers and killing Israelites. So let's read that. Start from the first verse. It says the people complaining. And when the people complained, it displeased Yahweh, and Yahweh heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahweh burnt among them and consumed them that were in the utmost parts of the camp. Consumed. Let's look up the word consumed. Remember those ships, or the gigantic ship had laser technology, because the laws were written with laser technology. The finger of the Most High, if you go to Deuteronomy 33, out of his right side issued forth a fiery law, I believe it says. I may go to that too. So it was a complete waste of time to even go into these black churches, because they don't understand the scriptures. They don't understand the scriptures. They'll sing gospel songs about how much they love Jesus, and they don't even know whether Jesus is white or black, or, what did he say do, what did he say now. All they know is they love Jesus. You hit the lotto, Jesus made me hit the lotto. Let me see the people. Okay, complained. It displeased Yahweh. Now the word there is Yahweh. That heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire, and the word's actual fire, which is ash, which is fire. That's what Gad spoke when they were over here. Of Yahweh, and the fire of Yahweh burnt. Let's look up the word burnt. Let's look up the word burnt. It means to burn, consume, kindle, be kindled, to begin to burn. So we're not going to read all of these. Let's go to some of the precepts. Right, it says here, Exodus 35:3, ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. So you can't cook on the Sabbath day. Anything you cook, you got to cook it before the sun go down, and you eat it during the Sabbath. And then you don't eat anything unless you eat something that you don't cook during that Sabbath period, which comes based upon the new moon. Right, burn wood. Okay. So it says, and consume them. Who? The Israelites and some of the mixed multitude in the uttermost parts of the camp. So he's killing them. He was killing them by fire. Oh, let me go here, and I'll bring it back. Deuteronomy 33. I'm going to go right to the point. I started the second verse. I could have started the first verse. And he said, Yahweh came from Sinai and rose up from Seir, which is the land of Edom, Mount Seir, unto them. He shined forth, that was a ship, from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of his saints The saints are talking about angels, the angels. From his right hand went a what? A fiery law for them. So what does it mean? What is a laser? A laser is concentrated fire. So the law was written on the tablets of stone perfectly, perfect Hebrew. So let's come back. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed, yeah, because the Lord is killing us. The Lord is killing us. Moses, do something about this. The Lord is killing us. He set us on fire. Unto YAHAWAH, the fire was quenched. In other words, the Most High pulled back because he loved Moses. Third verse, and he called the name of the tabernacle of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? And where they get stirred up? By them heathens, man. And so they say, yeah, man, we used to believe, we used to eat good. We remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks. This was good food that they were eating. They were eating good. Their food wasn't defiled among the Gentiles. They were eating good food. This fish, protein, omega-3s, cucumbers, melons, leeks, and onions and garlic, those were prebiotics and probiotics. But now our souls is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. And the Most High created the manna. It was a perfect food. It was a perfect food. It covered everything. It had the potassium, if somebody's listening, it had the right amount of potassium in it. It had the right amount of probiotics and prebiotics. It had the right amount of proteins. It was a perfect food. It was a perfect food. But because it was one food, you know, to say they didn't have no variety, they were pitching a bitch. You know, so this time when the Most High gets us, he ain't taking all these niggas with him. And he ain't taking none of the nations either. He's taking the elect. And he's going to change them when they get beamed up in the ship. They're going to change. And they're going to be perfect. So now let's come back over here. So it says, you can go back and listen to what Elder Mike said. He read the scripture under another version. I'm reading it in the King James. It said, there was not a word of all that Moses commanded, which Joshua read, not before all the congregation of Israel. Meaning he read everything that Moses read. Moses gave him the law, and Joshua gave him the law. And then another thing, that first generation of children, he found out that they wasn't circumcised their children. Let me see if this is bear me for a minute. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Right, bear me for a minute now. I'm obviously spelling this wrong. Copy. Do this. Let me try it this way. Circumcise and do it this way. Bear with me for a minute. Shit. I'm a lousy speller. Try it this way. Circumcise. Please bear with me. I'm a terrible, terrible, terrible speller. I'm gonna do it this way. Circumcision in the Bible. Okay, I was off by one letter. So let me do it this way. Please bear with me. Okay, so this is in the 5th chapter. Start at the 2nd verse, Joshua 5, verse 2. At that time, Yahawah said unto Moses, Joshua, YAHAWASHI, make the sharp knives and circumcise again the children of Israel the 2nd time. And this is the cause why Yahawashi did circumcise all the people that came out of Egypt, the Israelites, that were males, even all the men of war died in the wilderness by the way after they came out of Egypt. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness, that next generation of newborn babies, boys, by the way as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. So here they going in the wilderness, they're having babies, and they like, we ain't gonna circumcise him. And that's why, the Most High was killing Jake, man. That's why none of them made it to the other side. The only ones that made it from the one end to the other, going into the wilderness, out of Egypt, into the wilderness, into the promised land, was Joshua and Caleb. And the people that came into the land were people that were not in Egypt. They were born in the wilderness. So you had like what, 2 or 3 generations. So all those people, they just died off. And they left their seed. They left their sons and their daughters. Okay, now let me do this. So it says there was not a word of. So basically, Yahawashi had to keep reminding about keeping the laws. We're going to read the law again. I said he read every law to him, the curses and the blessings and so forth, the same that Moses did. And that happened during the time of Ezra. He had to have all Israel listen to the whole law. It said, before all the congregation of Israel and the women and the children and the little ones, and the strangers that were conversant among them. So you might say, oh, that's talking about the mixed multitude, which are other nations. So this applies to them too. Well, yes, certain laws apply to the other nations. Circumcision was one of them. But I'm going to show you that this is talking about Israelites coming from far off lands, because when they went to the promised land, you had Israelites venture off into other lands and set up their stations in other lands, and some of them came back to visit. And some of them said, you know, their great-great-grandkids say, I want to stay back in Israel. And that's the JJs call it the right of return, or the right of the strangers. So let's click on this. So Elder Mike should have known this. So the word there is gar. You have gar and nakar. So let's find out the difference between gar and nakar. Age 16 and 16, right? The strangers. Sojourner, a temporary inhabitant. I'm going to give you an example. During the time of the Passover, the Feast of Weeks, and the tabernacle, you had Israelites that came from different parts of Jerusalem. The biggest group of people that came out 3 times in a year were the Israelites of Alexandria, Egypt. So what would they be considered? They would be considered foreigners. They would be considered sojourners, and they would also be considered strangers. So it says a temporary inhabitant. So we're focusing on the Alexandrian Israelites. They will come out, and you know that they will come out. They will come out. Here come that group. That's the biggest group of Israelites coming out, because there were a lot of Israelites in Egypt at that time. We don't know the exact number, but we know that they left their seed there. So you have Israelites that are going to come out of Egypt. Israelites is going to come out of Kenya. It says a temporary inhabitant. If you go to another, let's say you go with your girl to Mexico and you're there for 2 weeks. You hit the lotto, you got the money, you stay down there for a month. You are an inhabitor, right? But you're a temporary inhabitor. And they tell you, they said, how long do you plan to be here? Well, we're just here on vacation. If you ever been outside the country, they ask you, how long you're gonna be here, what you're here for, what's your business. When I used to go to Canada, I went to Canada a couple of times. They asked you, they said, why are you up here? Oh, you're up here for such and such, so and so. How long are you gonna be here approximately? Oh, just for a week. They say, can I see your license? There was 3 cars deep. We talking about the other day. And when you get to that border, it's a Canadian police officer or whatever, toll guard or whatever. Now they're supposed to check everybody in the car. They're supposed to check your license. They only checked the brother that was driving. They said, can I see your license? So the license. I was getting ready to take my license and my ID. They said, oh, don't worry about it. They didn't check our trunk. And they said, okay, you have a nice, time in Canada. Enjoy Canada, The ones that they be checking is them Arabs, man. They be fucking with the Arabs. They don't like them Arabs, them Elamites. It says, foreigners, listen, of foreigners in Israel, meaning Israelites, though conceded rights. So you kind of get, if you move someplace else, you gave up your rights, like the Alexandrian Israelites of Egypt. They gave up their rights. But if any of them, let's say 1,000 of them want to come back and live in Israel, what do they have to do? They have to find out, well, what tribe are you from? I'm from the tribe of Levi. Or what tribe are you from? I'm the tribe of Gad. Or I'm the tribe of this. I'm the tribe of Judah, Benjamin. So the land that they will give you is the land of, if you're Benjamin, they're going to get you a spot of land, apply the land where Benjamin dwelled. That's what it's talking about. So that thing about the foreigner is talking about Israelites that are outside the country. It's not talking about this the mixed multitude. It's talking about Israelites. So we're going to go through some of these precepts. There's now almost 100 precepts on this word H1616, which is gar. And then we're going to look into the word nakar. So it says here, Genesis 15:13, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed. Now he had many seeds, right? What seed was it talking about? It was talking about the seed of that came out of Isaac. So Abraham had Isaac. Isaac had Jacob and Esau, and out of the line of Jacob and Esau was Jacob. That was the line. So all the male children that Jacob had, those were that promised seed, because it wasn't Edomites that went into captivity under the Egyptians. All right. It was the Israelites that went into captivity, which is the seed, that particular seed of Abram in a land. And it says, and what? Thy seed shall be a stranger. You're talking about Israelites in a land that is not theirs. And they and shall serve them, the Egyptians, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And you got people saying that's talking about America. They ain't talking about America. Let me pull out a couple more. Okay, you know what? Let me do this. Let me click on this. Let me take this word. And this is what I'm going to do. So the word stranger is here 4 times. Okay, Exodus 12, verse 19. It says, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of YAHAWAH, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. So what is it talking about, a stranger? It's talking about an Israelite that was born outside of Israel that came to keep the Passover and to go back. That they called it pilgrimage. It says, or born in the land, meaning, or Israelite born in the land, that you got to follow, the commandment of the Passover. You can't eat unleavened bread. So let's move on down. So it says in the 43rd verse, and Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Wait a minute. Click on this. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But it says if you're a stranger, make sure you don't have no leaven in your house. So this word stranger has to be gar. Now let's see what this word stranger is. Same word, same spellings, STRANGR. I guarantee you it's not going to be the word gar. It's going to be in the car. Let's see if I'm correct. I could be wrong. Let's see if I'm correct. Stranger, STRANGR, H 5236, nakar, which is different from gar. So now when you look this up, it's talking, let's click on it. Let's click on it. That which is foreign, foreigner, foreign gods, aliens, foreigner, foreign, vanities, wicked, foreign, alien. stranger. This is talking about other nations. So it said a stranger, meaning a person of another nation, cannot eat the Passover. Right here, Genesis 17, verse 12. Now remember, who was under the covenant of circumcision that was given to Abraham? It was given to all his servants, whether they be Hebrews or servants. So let's read that. And he that is 8 days old. So in the kingdom of heaven, who's going to get circumcised? The male sons, right? The male children. Are the Israelite children going to get circumcised on the 8th day? Absolutely. What about Edomites? Are their children going to be circumcised on the 8th day? Absolutely. What about the Ishmaelites? All of them going to be circumcised because they coming under the same covenant. We all came under that same covenant now. Vocab alone said, no, the other nations are under covenants too. They're under a covenant of God. What about the covenant circumcision? I said, we don't have no problem with that. The rainbow, after the flood, the Most High said, my sign in the heavens is going to be the rainbow that I promise I won't destroy the earth with a flood no more. Who did that apply to? That applied to the inhabitants of the earth, whether it be Edomites, Canaanites, Ishmaelites. This is not hard, man. This is not hard. It says, let me read on. It says, and he that is 8, I can close it right now. I didn't prove my point. So Elder Mike, you should have did some research before you pulled that scripture out. You said, what about the stranger, the foreigners? You ain't helping the foreigners, man. The Most High said you got to help them too. It's talking about Israelites. Joshua 8, verse 30, 35 is talking about Israelites that were born outside of the land. And see, like I said early in this video, when IUIC went to them churches, I already knew that shit was going to be a disaster. I knew it was going to be a complete disaster. Yeah, motherfuckers in the church taking off their shoes, beating you over the head. You had motherfuckers pull nines out on you. Yeah, motherfuckers trying to run you over. Because it was stupid what you did. Now, I'm not going to totally knock you because I'll take the stupid back. I'll take the stupid back because you are supposed to go to Israel. But guess what? You should have went out there, either set up at the church, and when they came out and you tell them this, that, and the third, they don't see it, give them another, how about this? They don't see it. Just okay, you know what? We're out of here. Or set up a meeting. If they don't want to have a meeting, then you move on. You might tell them over the phone, oh, by the way, we're telling you that you're the Israelites. Now, whether you're talking to the pastor, now whether you're going to tell your people or not, it's up to you. You can go as far as going out there because maybe the pastor's keeping the congregation from getting the truth. Okay, you set up outside their property and you tell them that they're Israelites, this, that, and the third. And then you can know after about a minute or two that they ain't feeling it. So guess what? And you guys out there for hours, get this, first of all, this is Sunday. Sunday ain't the Sabbath, it's a Saturday. Well, guess what? Both of y'all are wrong. The Sabbath is not on a Friday sundown or to a Saturday sundown unless if it's on a full moon. So both of y'all are wrong. So you're being a hypocrite. You tell them they're going off on something when you ain't right, man. Let me read on. It says, he that is born in the house, like if you have a servant with his wife and they have children, guess what? Those newborn babies are your servants. When we was in slavery, the slave woman and slave man had babies. Guess what? Who owned the baby? The slave master. That was the baby slave master. So the more babies they had, the happier the slave master was. Because that's more niggas that can work in the field for me. Or brought with money of any stranger, because you back in the ancient world, you purchased slaves, right? It said, which is an Israelite were slaves or servants under other Israelites, which is not of thy seed. So who ought to get circumcised? Anybody in Abram's house, whether they be a stranger, whether they be of another nation, whether your servants had children, they all get circumcised. They all get circumcised. So the word here for stranger is not gar, it's nakar, H5236. I can close it right now. It says in Genesis, I'll read a couple more. Genesis 35:2. Then Yaquab said unto his household and to all that were with him, put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean and change your garments. So he's saying strange gods, nakar. Let's try this one. Exodus 12, verse 30. Well, we're reading it. Right. So right here, he says, a stranger is not supposed to partake in the Passover. But then a few verses above that, it says, well, if you're going to deal with the Passover, make sure you circumcise, make sure you don't have unleavened bread. Matter of fact, let's come back over here. Let's shoot back to this, and I'm gonna get ready to close. Okay, we got stranger. It's up there 4 times. A congregation, which is 11 even. And so this right here, stranger, is God. And it's talking about an Israelite. 43rd verse, and Yahawah said unto Moses, Masha and Aharon, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. When you click on that, the word there is nakar, not God. Talking about a person of another nation. 48th verse, and when a stranger shall sojourn, I already know this is talking about God, which is an Israelite outside of the land of Israel, and will keep the Passover to Yahawah. Let all his males be circumcised, his children, and then let him come near and keep it, because he's an Israelite. This stranger is an Israelite, and he shall be as one that is born in the land, because that's part of his land anyway. Because if he decides to stay, you have to find out what tribe are you. I'm from the tribe of Gad. Okay, so we're going to go to Gad, and we're going to give you a plot of land. Like when you go to Isaiah chapter 14:1, it says, and the stranger shall cleave unto the house of Jacob. The high priest Ariel said that's talking about the other nations trying to cleave on us. No, it's talking about Israelites. As we go out there and teach and people come and learn, they're cleaving to who? They're cleaving to the teachers of, that's what it's talking about. When we first went out July 2007, we only had what, 10 guys, 12 guys or whatever, 13 or whatever the case may be. And now there's guys all over the place that are part of GMS. Guess who they were before they came into this? Strangers. So when they came and listened to what we had to say, they cleaveth unto us, whatever you say it. And they learned, because at the beginning, we used to always have brothers come out. Can we come out? Can we come out? They don't come out no more like they used to. Because guess what? They grown up. They already know the truth. Because they were still picking up little things. And I go out there, I'm going to ask them this question, I'm going to ask them that question. Well, they know what we know now. They know what we know. And they learn things that we never taught them. Hey, the same thing. There's a lot of things that I taught y'all that the 7 never taught me. All right. So let's read the 49th verse. I'm going to close. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, meaning born in the land as an Israelite, and unto the stranger that sojourneth, now we among them. Who's the stranger that sojourneth among them? The Israelite that lives in another land. So if you click on this, I guarantee you the word there is going to be gar and not nakar. So Elder Mike, you pulled out the wrong scripture. You pulled out the wrong scripture. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.